like I said, we're going to be in Matthew 6. And let's start by reading our passage. We're going to read from 19 all the way down to 34. And we're going to start working through this. We're going to consider a couple of other passages. But Matthew 6, starting in verse 19, it says, "Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The lamp of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye is good, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in you is darkness, how great is that darkness?" It says, "No one can serve two masters. For either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will be loyal to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon," or money. "Therefore I say to you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, nor about your body, what you will put on. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing? Look at the birds of the air, for they neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than they? Which of you by worrying can add 1 cubit to your stature? How can you make yourself taller by worrying? So why do you worry about clothing? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. And yet I say to you that even Solomon in all of his glory was not arrayed like one of these. Now if God so clothes the grass of the field, which today is and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, will he not much more clothe you, O you of little faith? Therefore do not worry, saying, what shall I eat? Or what shall I drink? Or what shall I wear? For after all these things the Gentiles seek. For your heavenly Father knows that you need these things. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all of these things shall be added to you. Therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about its own things. Sufficient for today is its own trouble." You see in this passage, first start of this, when Jesus starts talking about these things in Matthew, we see there in verses 19 and 20. Verses 19 and 20, right where we start, says, "Do not lay up for yourself treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys and where thieves do not break in and steal." Jesus is saying, invest there, not here. So I started this question, my question this morning is when you look at your life, when you look at again, even the things we were talking about last week, even just your time and your days and your gifts and your abilities and your purpose, what all is that being invested into? When you look at, the majority of your life, you look at your calendar, you look at it today, you look at your checkbook, you look at all the things, where is the investment of everything that is you going towards? Is it going towards the kingdom of heaven, or is it going towards just trying to build your little kingdom here on earth? Where is the investment going towards? Now, I pulled out this, where did I put it? Put it right here. Some of you may have seen this a long time ago. I got this rope. I think this is 50 feet of rope. This is not even nearly long enough to prove this point. But I took 50 feet of rope and I painted the last 2.5 inches red. Now, this is just a visual indicator thing where we think about our life here on this earth. Most of us, we start into this, we think of this life here on this earth as this is all I've got. There's a whole, dumb saying of you only live once. Okay, well, no, but you live once here and then you're going to keep living forever. The question is, where are you going to live at? Are we preparing for eternity, or are we just preparing for this one little period of time that I have right now? Like we talked about last week, this life here on this earth, this is just holding station. We're in the waiting room of eternity right now. What we do here on this earth benefits how we're going to experience eternity. The greatest part of eternity is going to be wow, there's God. The angels are worshiping him. I get to join in that. Forget about everything else. That's all I need. But Scripture says the things that we do here still stores up treasure there. It prepares us there. It betters, our stepping into eternity. But so many of us, we get focused on this little period of time that it's we don't even think about forever that comes after this. It's think about it practically. If somebody came to you and was man, I'll give you, $1 million for tomorrow, and you can just have that tomorrow and it's going to be gone when the sun goes down tomorrow, or I'll give you everything you need for the rest of your life. Which one do you want? You want just a bunch of money tomorrow, or do you want to be taken care of for the rest of your life? I would hope that most of us would see like, okay, the smart decision here is like, I'll just get what I need forever. I'll get everything. But again, having that $1 million tomorrow is like trying to get everything I can in this little period of time in this life right now, and not even bothering to think about everything that comes after this. Jesus here says, he's like, you can store up treasures here on earth. People can steal it. Entropy happens. Bugs can break it down. So it's like, we know by like the laws of science and even thermodynamics, it's like everything in this world breaks down. Like even gold over time it'll go away. I mean, it's just like any physical thing will cease to exist. Jesus is like, where's our heart at though? In your heart, are you worrying about him and his kingdom and forever? Or can we just not even see past this little bit of time that we have right now? Just like, again, we talked about this last week. I don't know how long any of us have. And yet we spend every waking moment being like, I got to make this. I got to get this. I'll never be happy if I have this. My kids need to have this 30 years down the road. But what are we doing right now that's preparing us for the kingdom? Like Jesus is going to make some hard statements through this, and it's going to hopefully bring us to some reflection points on some of this. But there's that initial question that Jesus puts in our minds, like, where are we investing to? Are we investing purely for this time on earth, or are we investing in forever in the kingdom? And then Jesus continues on this thought process. When we looked at 19:20 and verse 21, he makes a profound statement. He says, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And a lot of us, we look at that and we kind of see the opposite of what he's saying. Maybe you haven't paid attention to the wording here. We think of like, oh, I have all this stuff, and so or I love these certain things, so I'm just going to put my money towards these certain things. Like, I just, since I love this, I'm going to get these things. But Jesus is kind of saying that's like, you may say you love God right now, but he's saying where your treasure is, there your heart will end up. So right now you might be in a good place. Right now you might be saying like, oh yeah, I like God, I love him. Like, I'm good on his terms. But then temptation's going to come, and I'm going to start accumulating some things. I'm going to be like, the dragon of the fantasy stories that's sitting on my pile of gold, so to speak. And that could be whatever it is in your life. It could be a vehicle, could be a house, could be just my bank account, could be whatever hobby or toys that I like to get. But my heart's good right now, but I'm going to start getting some of these things. I'm going to start piling some of these things up. Well, Jesus is saying, says, where your treasure is, there your heart's going to end up. Like when you start piling up some of those things, it's not that you just love those things first so you started getting them. He's saying once you start piling those things up, your heart's going to start gravitating towards those things. It's like, ooh, I got this car that I really like. So now all of my waking moments going to be like, ooh, I got to polish the car. I got to make sure nobody hits it. I got to make sure it doesn't get scratched. I got to make sure that the leather's polished. I got to make sure everything's taken care of. Like all of my affection in my heart, my time, it's going to start going to my treasure. But that could be anything. It could be anything. Where your treasure is, there your heart's going to be moving towards. Is our heart gravitating towards materialism, or is it gravitating, hopefully, towards the Lord? And Jesus continues on in the points that he's making. In verse 22 and 23, he says, the lamp of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye is good, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, the whole body will be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? And it's kind of saying like what are your eyes focused on? If your eyes are clouded by materialism, you can't see the light. Like you're not even seeing it. It's like you're just seeing all these little things in front of you. And just in seeing that, it's like you can't see what you need to be seeing. Like you're walking in darkness because your eyes are clouded by the nonsense. But he says, but if your eyes aren't, then the light's coming in. Your eyes are good. But how much of us, it's like, man, I think of how our eyes get clouded, man. We live in a world where it's just like every waking moment of your day, if you're on your phone, if you're on your computer, on YouTube, you're watching your TV and there's ads rolling. I mean, it's working real hard to try to cloud your eyes in materialism. Like, that's what so much of this world exists for. And we get caught up, like, ooh, I would like my life would be better if I had that thing. Man, how many things in your life would your life have been better if you got them? And then you got them, and a few days later, nothing changed. Like nothing changed. Like how many things have we been like, man, if I just got this, and that's played out real quick. And a lot of those times, unfortunately, it's like, oh, if I just had this, buy some expensive car, now I'm saddled in debt, now my life is worse. It's just like, cause and effect. Like we don't put those things together. We're just caught up in like, ooh, this one little thing. That's our eyes being clouded in darkness. That's when we can't see the light. If we could see how good Jesus is through the darkness, we wouldn't be caught up so much in all of the nonsense stuff of this world. There's a passage I want to, I'll have you turn to this one. It's a short passage. It's in Proverbs chapter 30. Back in the Old Testament, kind of middle of your Bible. Proverbs chapter 30. This guy makes an extremely profound statement. Very self-aware, very profound statement. Proverbs chapter 30. I'll give you a moment. We're going to be in verses 7 through 9 of Proverbs chapter 30. Okay. So Proverbs chapter 30, 7 through 9. And just to introduce this for a second, most of Ecclesiastes is written by Solomon. Not Ecclesiastes, he wrote Ecclesiastes as well, but Proverbs is written by Solomon. But in chapter 30 here, he includes a letter from this other guy. It's this guy named Agur. And he includes just Agur's letter into the writings of Proverbs. I think he saw a lot of wisdom in what Agur had to say. Like Solomon, by God's own mouth, was the wisest man who ever lived. And then he saw what this other guy saying. He's like, man, there's some wisdom in what this guy's saying. So I'm going to include his letter in the book of Proverbs. And that's what we're reading here. But I want you to focus on just 7, 8, and 9. This is Agur basically talking to God. He's praying to God. And in 7, he says, 2 things I request of you. Deprive me not before I die. He says, remove falsehood and lies far from me. But notice this. He says, give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with the food allotted to me, lest I be full and deny you and say, who is the Lord? Or lest I be poor and steal and profane the name of my God. Agur looks at his financial situation. He looks at his mindset. He's like, God, I know how I am. Again, it's a very self-aware moment where this man's talking to God. He says, God, I know where I'm at. I know who I am. I know my problem areas. I know if you give me too much, I'm going to be like, who's God? I got my stuff taken care of. I don't need him. I got everything I need and I've gotten it taken care of. Agur, when he writes this and he's talking to God, he knows like, God, if you give me too much, my eyes are going to come off of you and I'm going to think I got it all together. But he says, but God, I also need what I need. Because if I don't have enough, then I know I'm going to be in a point and I'm going to be in a position where I'm going to be forced to steal something. He's like, and I don't want to do that because that's going to make you look bad. His heart was all on the Lord. He's just like, I don't need so much that my eyes leave you, but I need enough so I don't have to steal and make you look bad. He's like, God, please just give me what I need. Not too much and not too little. Like how many of us have ever gone to God and said, God, don't give me too much. Like, I need enough, but God, don't give me too much. I'd be curious if anybody's in this room has ever prayed that. Like, God, don't give me more than I can handle. And all of us, I think if we're honest with ourselves, all of us know there is probably a dollar amount that if it entered our life, it would be a problem. You might think, oh, no, I'd be good. I'd have it all together. I would do good with him. Are you being honest about that? Like there is probably a dollar amount that if it entered our life, it would be a problem. Agur understood that. He knows, like, man, I don't want to take my eyes off God. So God, don't give me so much where that's going to happen. But I also need to eat. So just give me enough, Lord. There's a follow-up, which I won't have you turn to this one again, but this was Solomon including Agur's letter in here. But then Solomon, when he's writing, he writes one of the most profound like statements of kind of just understanding that balance. It's Ecclesiastes 4, verse 6. Ecclesiastes 4, 6, and some of you guys have probably heard me say this if we've ever talked about money. Ecclesiastes 4, 6 says it's better to have a handful. It's better to have one handful and quietness than to have both hands full with toil and grasping after the wind. Toil means like all of the hard work and the grasping after nothing. He's like, it's better to have one, basically he's saying it's better to have one handful and have a quiet, peaceful life than it is to have two hands full and all of the problems and work and effort that comes from that. That's what he's saying. He's like, do we recognize that balance? Because there's one thing that I've always been curious about. Like I see people and I see, the struggles of finances. I see all of the things. But a lot of times the struggles with finances are one that's like what we talked about last week. There's fires that maybe we started last week or last month or last year or 5 years from before that we're still having to put out right now. But a lot of times we're still stoking those fires by just making dumb decisions all the time. Like, ooh, I need this, or ooh, I'm going to make this bad decision, or I'm going to keep buying these things. Or a lot of people drink and eat their finances away every month because they don't pay attention. And I've done that. Like there's been months where I was like, oh, we're busy. And I look back at our statement for the month. I'm like, because our bank breaks it down by what you spent your money on. I'm like, oh, shoot. Like, I didn't think we ate that nice. And so really didn't. But, but that happens. Like it happens when we don't pay attention. But when Solomon says it's better to have one hand full with quietness than to have two hands full and all of the problems that come with it, I just wonder sometimes, like if you've ever considered like just the value of that quietness, the value of that peace. Like how much would you value a life where every waking moment isn't stress over money or getting this or getting that? And have you experienced that? And two, if you have or if you have not, like, do you actually see the value in that? I know for my wife and I, and not that we're perfect, especially, but it's like this is something we worked on. Like we worked on over the years. We worked on creating a peaceful life. And even this week, like Eileen hit me with it because she knew where I was going, even though I had a different set of notes prior to right now. But she knew where I was kind of going with this, and we'll have to talk because me and Noah were talking about like, oh, we gotta get Eileen's air conditioner working. But I went and bought like a tool or whatever I was looking at, and I think the compressor is bad in her car. And so for me, I'm like, compressor. And Eileen's like, remember? We don't have to worry about it. We have peace. I'm like, it's true. It's okay. It's not a big deal. But it's just like, because we're in that place where it's like we have, created a situation where it's just like, we don't do everything in the world. We don't get every last thing in the world. We kind of stop each other from going after all of these random things. And we've created a situation where it's just like, by God's blessing, it's just like we can deal with the little fires when they come up and they don't have to ruin our day or month. We're not carrying them with us for a long time. But that took effort. Like that took effort. Like I think people look at it like, oh, you guys got it all. No, like until just a couple of months ago, we've been living on one income for 14 years. This 2026 with one income, that's not the easiest thing in the world. It's just like, and I don't have like some crazy income. God's blessed us decent. But most people that have two incomes were making more than us, But God still worked it out in the sense because we made decisions, I think, to honor Him, and we took care of how we spent our money and such, where we're in a place where we're not living under the stresses of money, which frees us to live more in focus of Him. And that's what I want for you guys. It's just like, do you want to be in a place where you're always in this rat race trying to get the next thing? Do you want to be in this place where you're always living under the stresses of bad decisions? Or do you want to get to a place to value peacefulness? Because in that peacefulness, I can focus on Him more and I can focus on others more. But a lot of times it's just like, we're so caught up, like it's like our eyes are clouded by that darkness that I don't ever see the light of what's possible. And you might look at it and say, I don't think that's possible. It is possible. Like there's so many people I've sat down with their financial situations. Like even one of my coworkers in Riverside, he's like, oh man, I messed up. Cause I used to teach this stuff at one point. And we sat down in his situation and like, I think in less than 2 years, he was, working hard, but he paid off like $50-something thousand in debt in like 18 months or something like that. Just cutting back everything, delivering some pizzas and stuff and paid it all off. got it all behind him, and started taking care of his business. And I've sat down with a lot of other people. It's just like, okay, you make this, but your real expenses are only this. So if you cut out everything in between, there's this big number here that's just like, well, where's it going? Where's it going? You have no accounting for where all of this is going. So that means you just haven't been paying attention to where it's going. But if you actually had intention for where it's going, then maybe we could get to a God-glorifying, peaceful place in your life. But that goes back to stewardship like we talked about last week. Stewardship. God gives us, like we looked at the parable of talents last week. If you remember how that played out, the master said, here's some resources. They're my resources. Even like every dollar you have is his resources. But the master says, here is some resources. Take care of my resources. Do well with my resources. And we saw last week, that 2 of the servants took great care of the master's resources. One didn't. One did not take any care for his master's resources. And the master was not happy with that individual. He's like, you need to leave. You need to leave, and I'm going to take the resources that I had given you, and I'm going to give them to somebody else that's going to actually take care of them. And I think even in looking at the parable like that, I think there's great truth in the fact that it's just like, we may have never prayed to God to say, hey, God, don't give me too much. But we probably often pray like, God, I just need this little bit more. I need this. Everything would change if you fix this. But it's like, I think of even like with my kids, if I gave my kids X amount of dollars and it's like, hey, here's $500 and, I trust you to take care of it, make wise decisions with it. 2 days down the road, it's like, money's gone, you got nothing to show for it. It's like, I'm probably not going to give you anything more. Like, I'm just not doing that again. It's like you think about that situation where, like, if I gave my kids money and they just, sometimes they say, hey, have fun with it. Like, if it's like their birthday or whatever, but it's like, take care of it. Like, act wisely with it. Because if you show me you're going to not act wisely with it at all, well, then I'm not just going to keep throwing money at you. I'm not just going to keep giving you things that you're going to do dumb stuff with. But we don't think that it works like that with us, with God. Again, the parable last week says that the master expected the servants to take care of his resources. Like, why would God just keep throwing more at you if you haven't proven that you can take care of what he's given you already? Like, that's the thing. He's already given you something. I guarantee you we can do better at taking care of it. If we're not doing what we're supposed to do to take care of it, why would we expect him to keep giving more and more and more into a problematic situation? And I'm one that's like, there's a lot of churches and stuff out there that will teach you like God is just invested in your prosperity. He wants you to be rich and wealthy. No, that's not the case. If that was the case, then there wouldn't be a passage like a Gur talking where it's like, God, just give me enough because I recognize that and too much money is going to take my eyes off of you. That passage wouldn't exist if there was this reality that's like, God's just going to give you a bunch of wealth and, his blessing of you looks like money and money. No, that doesn't have anything. All of his followers that follow Jesus, none of those guys were wealthy. And I'm not saying getting some extra is bad. Like, I'm not saying it's wrong to get a little bit extra. Be careful with that. Be careful what that becomes the goal. If the goal is just getting extra, well, then that's a problem. We're going to look at really how Jesus plays that out in a moment. Eileen warned me. She's like, I don't know if you're going to go freestyle. This is going to go really long. I think we're already headed in that direction. So I'm going to try and get this back on track. But we look at that because, again, if it's always just a little bit more, then more becomes the goal and God doesn't become the goal. And again, that is a problem. That's a problem that's dealt with here in Matthew 6, if you're still there. That next part of Matthew 6, and it's what this whole morning was titled after. Verse 24. Jesus, again, this is right from the mouth of Jesus. Jesus says, no one can serve two masters. For either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will be loyal to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon, or you cannot serve God and money. And the interesting thing is, like, money can rule over you whether you're wealthy or whether you're not. It can be ruling over you by you're just, infatuated by, wealth and money, and that's all you're focused on. Or it can rule over you when all of your waking hours are just thinking about how I'm going to get that next dollar and how I'm going to deal with these problems that I've created. It's just like it can rule over you at both ends of the spectrum. Jesus says, money can't rule over you and me rule over you at the same time. He's like, you can only have one master. It's going to be one or the other. Is it him? Yeah, it's like what I asked at the beginning. It's just like if you think about all of the focus of your life, does the efforts and the focus of your life lead towards pointing at the Lord? Or does it lead towards just building the little kingdom you have here on this earth? Is it like just for my efforts? Is it just for getting for me and mine? Or is it for honoring him? There's the rest of this passage here. I'm not going to break down every last bit of it, but the heart of the rest of the passage that Jesus is talking about, he says, God cares for you. From the no one can serve two masters onwards, he says, like, don't worry about your life. He's like, look at the birds. Look at the flowers. Like, look at this earth. He's like, doesn't God take care of these things? He's like, don't you think that he cares for you more than he cares for this bird that we're talking about? So he's saying he cares for you. He desires to give you what you need. Probably not everything you want, but he'll give you what you need. I want you to focus in really specifically on verse 33. It says we can't have two masters. But verse 33 says, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all of these things will be added to you. He says, seek first God and his kingdom and his righteousness, and then the things that you need will be worked out. Again, not every last thing you ever desire, the things that you need are going to be worked out. But I guess the question in that becomes, though, that's just like, well, if I don't get everything I want, will I be okay with that? I mean, again, if I pick up this rope again without pulling my microphone out, it's like if I don't get everything I want right here, but I'm guaranteed to get everything that I could ever imagine all the way on down the line, am I going to be okay with that? So many of us are like, well, I just really want everything that I want right here. Like, this is all I'm worried about. This is all I can see right now. Like, I haven't stepped foot into the kingdom of heaven yet. So all I care about is right here. Well, that's how money gets on the throne of our life. It says we can't serve two masters. Who's on the throne right now? It's like one of Satan's greatest tools in the fight against our spiritual growth is money. Like when Jesus writes this passage, he writes money in this kind of in the framework. He personifies money. He puts money as an enemy, as a competing God, really. The way he writes is when he says you cannot serve God and mammon, he's putting money in the place he's, like I said, personified as an alternate God against him. He's like, you can't serve both. But I think most of us can see that if there is anything that would pull our life and attention away from Jesus, it's probably going to be the stuff of this world. It's probably going to be all the little things. That's like Satan's most effective attack in pulling your attention away from the Lord. And I want you to see, you don't have you turn too many places, but I'm going to have you turn one more place. It's kind of going to bring us to, I think, a finish point. Go to Mark. It's just one book to the right of Matthew. Mark chapter 10. This is an easy one to turn to. Okay. I'm not going to read this entire story, but let's read Mark 10. We're going to read 17 through 22. This is a story that's typically titled about a young man called the rich young ruler. Mark 10, 17. It says, that's Jesus. He says, now as he was going on the road, one came running to him and knelt before him and asked, "Good teacher, what shall I do that I may inherit eternal life?" Jesus said to him, "Why do you call me good? No one is good but one, that is God." It says, "You know the commandments. Do not commit adultery. Do not murder. Do not steal. Do not bear false witness. Do not defraud. Honor your father and mother." And he answered and said to him, "Teacher, all these things I've kept from my youth." Then Jesus, looking at him, loved him and said to him, "One thing you lack. He says, go your way. Sell whatever you have and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. And come, take up the cross and follow me. But he was sad at this word, and he went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions. And we talk about Jesus saying, you cannot serve God and money at the same time. He said, there's basically a throne that's like on your heart. Like, who's the God that's sitting on the throne of your heart? This young man came to Jesus. Jesus was walking down the road, and this young man runs up to him. Obviously, this young man still feels like he's missing something. I don't think he has the peace that we were talking about a moment ago. He runs up to Jesus. He kneels on the ground before him. And then he says, good teacher. Jesus is like, well, why do you call me good? He's like, do you know who I am? And he's like, no one's good but God. He's just making a point to him. And then he goes through this thing about the commandments. And you can look at the young man's response and be like, man, that's kind of like arrogance. Like, oh, I've kept all the commandments. I don't think he's being arrogant. I think he's just saying like, I've worked hard. Like I think I've done pretty good since my youth. I've lived a pretty moral, good life. He's like, you think about that. It's like, I don't know if any of us would be like, yeah, I think I've done really well since I was young. I mean, I look at myself and say, no, haven't. But this young man stood right in front of Jesus like, I think I've done pretty good. Jesus is Jesus. He's God. He looked right to this man's heart. He knew the one thing. He knew the God who was sitting on the throne of this young man's heart. He's like, you need to get that God off the throne. He's like, can you get rid of all your stuff and come with me? Like, Jesus knew what the problem was. Like, it goes back to that root issue. Is like, you can't have two gods on the throne of your life, of your heart. Jesus knew that money was sitting on the throne of this young man's heart. This young man wanted eternal life that Jesus offers. But he was so caught up in the amount of stuff that he had. Even though he ran up to him wanting it, he's like, oh, but I got to get rid of all my stuff to have that. It's not that we have to get rid of all of our stuff. For some of us, it might be a good thing to start getting rid of some stuff. It might be starting to take the blinder, take the clouding, take the darkness off of our eyes so that we can see the light with all of the garbage and stuff we pile up in our life. But Jesus knew that this young man had money as his God. He's like, you need to get that God off of the throne so that you can come follow me. But what happened with this young man? Even though he ran up to him wanting it, it says he walked away sorrowful because he had great possessions. He's like, man, I got great stuff. I got a lot of stuff. I'm not willing to get rid of that, even though I appreciate what you have. And that's crazy. Like, that's crazy to be face to face with Jesus himself. And maybe he didn't fully understand everything that he was asking for. But face to face with Jesus himself, he's like, yeah, I'm going to choose my stuff. I'm going to choose my stuff over you and walk away. Like, that's really the opportunity that each of us have. Just like, you may be in a place where, like, you reflect on your life right now. Your life has been about the stuff. It has been. Well, it's time for the stuff to get off the throne. It's time to make room for God to be on that throne and him only. But would we be like that rich young ruler that says, like, I can't give it up. I can't give up this stuff for you. Or we appreciate the Lord enough to be like, again, there's an old song. I don't remember all the rest of the words of the song, but I remember one line of the song. It says, you can have the whole world. Just give me Jesus. Like, would we be in that place where it's just like, man, like, whatever it is, it's like, I'm thankful for what I have, but whatever needs to go can go, as long as I got him. Or would we be like that young man that's like, I like him. I like what he's saying. I like what he offers, but not if I got to give up some things. That's a crazy low view of God, to say I'm going to take some stuff over a God that offers us everything. I mean, again, I'm going to take some stuff for a little while in a place where moths can destroy it, where fire can burn it, where thieves can take it, where it can be here today and gone tomorrow. I'm going to take it right now, rather than getting ready for the riches of eternity forever. Like, we have I think it's so hard for us to comprehend because we live here and we're like, I've lived this year and this year and this year. I mean, for me, I've lived 40 years now. That seems like a long time. I don't even know how to fathom eternity. Like, what does it look like to be in the presence of God for 1,000,000 years? Like, that's what we're looking forward to. But if you don't ever come to him, you're not looking forward to that. You're looking forward to, honestly, just to be up front there, you're looking forward to hell for millions of years, forever. That's a scary thought. Like, that man walked away from Jesus. I don't know if he ever turned back. But if he didn't turn back, then he will never be with him forever. We choose the stuff of this world and we're willing to take this to sacrifice forever with God. Like, that is a terrible trade. That's the worst trade you will ever make in this life if you take the things of this world over forever with God. That's the worst trade you'll ever make. But you can choose that. You can. But I just encourage you today, again, there could be only one master of your life. It's either him, and there's other things like idols and stuff that can pop up. Jesus gave one thing to be real careful of. He says, be careful about money and materialism. Because if anything's going to try to dethrone me off of your heart, it's going to be all this junk. We saw it with that young man. We saw it was for real with him. He was face to face with Jesus and he still couldn't make that decision. So I encourage you to be careful. But I also just say, guys, if you need, like we've always say these things, like if there's, you've never figured out how to get just practically your stuff in order, get your finances and stuff right. If you need help, advice, or anything, well, do that. I don't care what, I don't need to, I can just give you advice. I don't need to see what your numbers are. If you want me to go through your numbers and we can create a plan, we can do that. But the thing is, the reason why we would do that is not to be in people's business. It's so that you and your life can be in order and you can steward the things that you have so that you can be in a place where God gets the rightful attention and glory from your life. It's like if all of your waking hours is just like, I'm dealing with problems and money and I got to work these extra hours. And a lot of times, a lot of that's not even necessary. It's just we haven't taken care of the problems to get to a place of peace. And you've never maybe been satisfied with having one handful and you spent your whole life with all of the problems that come from trying to fill that second hand up, like Solomon said. If so many people would just learn that lesson, it's like, if I had this, I'd be good. I had this and the Lord, I'm good. But we get caught up saying, but I need this, and I want this, and I want this, and I want this, and now I'm working extra hours, and now I'm in debt, and now I'm stressed, and I got all of these things because I wasn't satisfied with what brought me peace.